It's that time of year where a lot of riders are looking to winterize their motorcycle, while others are looking for a way to squeeze a few more weeks into the riding season. This week on MCrider, we'll look at a couple of ways that you can extend your riding season this year. Hey, welcome. My name's Kevin. I'm the host here at MCrider, where I release a weekly video on road skills or strategy to help make you a better rider. Hope you'll hit the subscribe button and join us for our weekly videos that come out every Friday morning. One of the good things about living and riding here in Texas is I get to ride pretty much year round. There's a few weeks during the winter where it's a little bit too cold, or we get the occasional ice storm because we don't get snow here in Texas. We get ice if we're going to get anything. So there's a few weeks where I can't ride, but for the majority of the year, I get to ride. But between the months of, I'd say, November and maybe late March, I have to add a few things to my riding apparel in order to make it more comfortable. Staying comfortable is one thing, but what a lot of riders don't think about when you get cold on a motorcycle is it really affects your concentration. I've been on the bike a few times where I've been really cold, and you have to force yourself to concentrate on the road and what's going on around you. You're going to be much better off if you can plan ahead and be warm on the motorcycle to begin with. One of the first things to go when you're riding a motorcycle in colder temperatures is your hands, because your body uses all that blood to circulate through your torso and through your head to help keep your body warm and your brain functioning, and your hands a lot of times don't get proper circulation, and your hands and your feet actually are the first things to get cold. So let's talk about some ways this week that you can keep your hands warm, that you can maintain that dexterity so you can continue to manipulate the controls on the motorcycle, and ways that you can make yourself more comfortable on the motorcycle when the temperatures begin to drop. So I worked for about 7 years for one of the major airlines here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I commuted back and forth to work about 30 miles each way, and I pretty much rode year round unless, like I was saying earlier, it was down in the teens or if we'd gotten some moisture or ice the night before. But beyond that, I pretty much rode year round. And what I would have to add to my commute on those 30-mile commutes was full heated gear. So I had heated jacket liner, went underneath my jacket, long sleeves on that liner, and then I wired in heated glove liners with that. And the addition of that and some long johns under my pants that I would wear to work, I'd stay pretty comfortable on a motorcycle. In fact, I really enjoyed riding when it got colder. Once I was wired up and had that heated gear going, it was nice and toasty. Well, when I first got that and started riding with it, the first morning that I rode with it, actually, I had the glove liners, so they went underneath regular winter gloves, and it had a wireless remote control. And it was the first morning that I'd used it. I got on the bike, I wired it into the motorcycle. It was a little plug that went under the seat, turned the heat on, and I could feel it heating up. And it was cold that morning, so I turned the heat up kind of high on the jacket liner and higher than I actually intended to on the glove liners. And at first it felt okay, but once I got out on the highway, it really started to get warm. And I remember riding down the road thinking, man, my hands are starting to really get hot. But it was rush hour traffic, and the highway was busy. There wasn't any good place to easily pull over. And I'm like, well, I'll just tough it out. I'll ride on into work. Well, when I got to work and I pulled those gloves and glove liners off, I actually had like griddle marks across the back of my hand where that heating element went through the back of the glove liner and actually caused a sunburn on my hand that lasted about 3 or 4 days on my hands, and I had some around my fingers as well. So that was my first experience with heated gear, and I learned real quickly that I needed to keep that remote control out and somewhere handy where I could control it if I happened to get the temperature up too hot on that controller. If I'd have been smarter about it, I would have stuck a couple of pieces of bread under there and I could have had some toast by the time I got to work. But I did learn to really appreciate that heated gear once I got the thermostat controlled on it and got it down to a level that was providing warmth without cooking my skin. I really enjoyed riding with that heated gear. Because your hands are the first things to go when it starts getting cold on the bike, I wanted to focus on that today and some things that I've used that have helped me, and we'll go over some pros and cons over the different approaches that I've taken to try to keep my hands warm. I'll have a link below and probably pop up, I guess in this corner right here, a link to an affiliate link to Revzilla if you'd like to look at their heated gear. There's lots of good options on there. I used the Powerlet in the past, but there's a lot of good reviews on there, so I encourage you to look at that if you're in the market for it. But this is what I'm using currently for heated gloves, and these are by a company called California Heat. I bought these at the International Motorcycle Show. They're a little less expensive than some of the name brand products that you can get, but I've been using these for a couple of years now, and they're really good. Some of the things that I like about a good quality heated glove is the inside, or the palm of these, is thinner than the outside. So most of your heating elements are on the outside of the glove, and that allows you to manipulate and maintain control of the grips and the controls on the motorcycle, because you don't have a whole lot of thickness or padding between you and the controls. All of the padding and the heating elements are on the outside of this, where you really need them anyway. And they've worked really good in my experience. It's got the wire that comes out of the back right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. This wire, it plugs into a wire that comes down the sleeve on the heated jacket. So I use that same heated jacket liner that I was telling you guys about in the past, that Powerlet, and there's a link to that Powerlet jacket liner in the affiliate link that I'm providing for you as well on Revzilla. Been really happy with that, and I'm using that in the same wireless controller. I just switched to these gloves because I like this, the single glove, better than having a glove liner and then trying to put another glove over the top of it. Was just kind of bulky. So these from California Heat have worked very well for me. You can also look online and see what options are available on the Revzilla link. But gloves make a huge difference in keeping your hands warm, and probably they're the best option. Some of the pros for the heated gloves, in my opinion, they're the best option for a longer trip. So if you're going to be on the motorcycle, I say, 30 miles or more, these work really good. It's kind of a pain to have to plug them in and unplug them and go through all of that to get all the gear on. So, if you're just running a couple of blocks away, it's a little bit of a pain to have to mess with these every time. But for a little bit longer trip, it's really going to help keep you comfortable. So that's one of the pros for it. And a heated glove doesn't necessarily have to be as thick as just a typical winter glove. So if you've got a winter glove, that sometimes they can be really thick and bulky, and in my opinion, it makes it hard to manipulate the controls. These gloves are still relatively thin, but because they've got the option to provide heat to it, they'll keep your hands a whole lot warmer than just a thicker insulated pair of gloves would. Some of the cons of using heated gloves, in my opinion, is they have to be wired into a heated vest. So I can't just wear these in my riding jacket. I have to have a heated vest or jacket liner on underneath this, because I need the wire coming down the sleeves to plug these in line with. So I can't just wear these. I can't throw these on and provide heat to my hands. I have to put everything on and wire it all up through me, and then it plugs in underneath the seat to a wire that goes to the battery. So it's a little bit of manipulation to get all this stuff on. The process of putting it on, like I said earlier, is kind of a pain. It was nice to ride to and from work, but if I was running out for lunch or something at my lunch break, it was a little bit of a pain to get all this stuff back on, just to run a few blocks to go get some lunch. I've seen these at the motorcycle show. I'm not sure if there are some on that Revzilla link that are battery powered. So they'll have a battery pack on the back right here, supposedly rechargeable. I've tried those at the motorcycle show, and they don't really seem to get warm enough for me. I mean, you can put them on at the show and turn it on high, and it feels really warm when you're standing there in a 78-degree room. But when you get on a motorcycle and you're going 70 miles an hour and it's 32 degrees, that doesn't feel nearly as warm as you would like it to, and as warm as you can get a glove like this. So the plug-in option has always been better for me than trying to mess with something with the battery pack. And the last con that I've got going this route is it can be kind of expensive when you consider you have to buy the gloves, the jacket liner at a minimum in order to keep your torso and your hands warm. It can get kind of pricey to do this, but if you're going on a longer trip in cold weather, there's nothing better than this option. I would say this is the best option, but probably the most expensive. So we'll move on from here. I'll show you another option that I'm getting ready to install on the XSR, and I'm looking forward to getting this on, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So I just got these heated grips in for the XSR. I haven't even had a chance to put them on the bike yet. These are OEM. They're not specifically for the XSR. I know they'll work with the MT-09, MT-07, I believe. Some of the other bikes that are in that similar platform to the XSR, I believe these will work on as well. So they're kind of universal, but they work on multiple different Yamaha bikes. The reason why I went with this particular one, if you can see that right there, the heat controller is built into the grip itself, which I like. I like that better than having a separate controller. Gives it a little bit cleaner install, and you don't have as many wires and things attached to the handlebar if you go this option. I'll get these installed, and we'll talk about it in more detail once I get them installed, and I'll show them to you on the bike. But some of the good things about having the heated grips or going with the heated grip option is that they're always there when you need them. So if you leave the house and cold front hits while you're out, your hand starts getting cold, they're always there. You can just reach over, turn that switch on, and heat the grips up, so you're not having to plan for it or carry gloves or jacket liner around like you would with the other option that we talked about. And these are best, in my opinion, for short rides. So I talked about commuting on a motorcycle, and gloves and a jacket liner were good for that. Well, if you're running out for lunch, these are the best option. They're not going to keep your hands as warm as heated gloves are, but you don't necessarily need that if you're only going to be on the bike for a short distance. These work really well just to get you from, one place to the next. And a lot of guys, this is all they ever really need. There are some gloves that will work better with heated grips because of the way they're designed, and it's got liner materials to help absorb some of that heat and move it around your hands. So I'm looking forward to testing these out and see how well they work for me. If there's not an OEM solution, so if there's not one made for your particular motorcycle, there are a lot of options for heated grips that are going to work on just about any motorcycle. And I'll provide links to that, another affiliate link to Revzilla. One of the more popular brands is Oxford, and I've had those on motorcycles in the past. They work really well, and most people seem to be really pleased with the Oxford heated grips. So if you want to go to mcrider.com/grips, there'll be some links in that Revzilla link to show you the options that are out there, and you can find something that will fit your motorcycle. While the heated grips are generally a cheaper option than going with the jacket liner and the heated gloves, and they're always on the motorcycle, there are some cons to going that route as well. And one of it is that it heats the inside of your hand. So you're riding down the road and you've got your fingers wrapped around the grip, provides some heat to the inside, but the top of your hand is the part that's getting all the air and is really exposed to the wind. So it doesn't always do a good job of keeping the top of your hand warm. So in really colder temperatures, that could be an issue if you're just relying on the heated grips to provide heat for you. And they don't do as good a job of providing heat to your fingers as a heated glove will, because a heated glove is going to have elements that run all the way down through your fingers, heating elements. A good pair will, and they're going to provide heat and keep your fingers real nimble and keep your dexterity in your fingers. Where a heated grip, you're really having to hold on to it tight to provide some of that heat to your hand in order to maintain that dexterity, so the grips aren't nearly as good as a heated glove is. So there's some trade-offs, you know, heated gloves or heated grips. Just depends on your budget and depends, I think, primarily on how long you're going to be on the motorcycle. If you're going for an extended trip, it's probably worth investing in some heated gear. If you're just looking to ride around town, you may be able to get away with heated grips, and that provides that heat for you anytime you need it. So you're not having to plan for it and bring it with you every time you go for a ride. So I got the grip warmers installed on the XSR. Here they are. Thought I'd take it out for a test ride. You can see, I think they look really clean on there. The controls are out of the way. They integrate in well with the handlebars. Install was nice and easy on it. Thought I'd take it out for this test ride. It was about 50 degrees. These gloves that I've got on don't have any insulation in them, so they're pretty thin. And I initially put it on the high setting just to see how hot these grips would get. And I had to turn them down after they got warmed up. They got pretty warm. So I ended up putting it on the second setting, and they were still plenty warm at that setting. So I think they'll do real well for short trips and for riding around town. If I was going to go on a longer trip, I'd want the heated gear on or heated gloves on. But these are going to be great for riding around in the city. So take a look at that RevZilla link that I've got for you. See what is available for your motorcycle. And if you've got a XSR or MT-09, MT-07, anything along those lines, maybe even some other Yamahas, these may fit as well. I'll have the part number for those in the description, so you can look for this and see if it'll work for your bike. Really happy with these so far, and hopefully they continue to function well on the motorcycle. But what about you? I'd love to hear some tips or some ideas from you, things that you found that have worked for you in the past, particular with keeping your hands warm. I've never tried any of the mittens or any of the things that attach to the handlebars. I know some of you guys have asked me questions about those. I've never used it, but if you've got experience with them and they've worked well for you, let us know in the comments or join us over on the forums. If you're a patron, you'll get access to the forums, and we'll have a discussion about this topic over there on the forums, and I'd love to hear your ideas and thoughts on the forum as well. And until next week, guys, this is Ken with MCrider, and we'll see you on the road. MCrider is made possible by our friends on Patreon. To learn how to support MCrider, get access to the field guide and the forums, go to mcrider.com/support.